So, a little flaw in my design, but nothing crazy. Just realized something, okay? So, when I put everything together, I said I like to have that 1 inch, so the shaft can slide. And it ends up being, once I slide it all the way down, the shaft is able to go down, and then I realized that when it was all the way up, it's really not in the right place. It's supposed to go here, because I finally took apart the lock on the original column. So that's about 3/8 of an inch down. So it just kind of free floats here. It really relied on the bearing being locked in place with snap rings and everything. So there's one of two things. As you can see, it's not lined up there because once it goes in the spline shaft, it's not going to be an issue because it has its own bearing. There was a bearing on the old one on the top here, so it's either I machine that down and put that bearing down on, put that bearing on it and somehow mount it inside the shaft here and have this thing be its own entity, But I think there is, to make it too perfect, it may not like to go into the other splines, I felt it was better to just let the splines take their shape. There is a bearing inside the aluminum and metal thing with the sensor on it, and you have this bearing up here, One other thing I was thinking about notching this and putting a snap ring in it so it didn't go down, but then it can go up. And then I just decided this is what I'm going to do because it's the easiest thing. First of all, inside the other shaft, I'm not at the garage right now, so inside this hole here, I'm going to put some kind of spacer, like a 1/2 inch spacer. Because what happened was, this is 3/8 of an inch that I just moved it. I don't have that 1 inch anymore. It's like 5/8 of an inch. So I'm just basically, I was thinking about either putting a spring or some kind of spacer inside there so that it holds tension. But then it's going to push it up there. So I lose that 3/8 of an inch, So now I'm going to space it out from there. And what did I do? So I got this fiber washer because these 3 notches that are in here, they're just pushed out metal, just in case it wears, it binds or it sounds funny, and I'll grease it up. So I'm gonna have my buddy cut this down for me and make it what I need to be. It's a 3/4 spacer with 1 inch on the outside. You have no idea how hard it was to find something because all the other shims and whatnot and washers, they're all like, the minimum is 1.25 inches. An 1.25 inches goes up to here and then it stops. I'm not even sure 1 1/8 would fit, but the inch fits, and that's basically what I'm going to do because it'll go in and it'll all be lined up. It'll be fine once everything is in. But I didn't realize this is the key way to hold the ignition lock. So when the ignition lock locks, that's where it locks onto. So I hope what I'm doing is right because it's in the spline. I don't see how it can have any play in the spline. It's right there pretty much. So in my midst of all doing this, I just realized this just kind of hangs out inside here, So like I said, I was thinking about making a notch in the shaft and putting a snap ring of some sort. That'll prevent it from going down, but also want to prevent it from going up, I don't even need the spacer, to be honest, inside the shaft. That's why I was thinking of like maybe a little spring, so there's less binding. And then this will just be like I have this fiber washer, some kind of bushing. I don't know if I could find something different that'd be better. I don't have to bother my friend with it because I got to cut a lot off this, But I think it's going to be fine, That's just the only thing I messed up on. I didn't look at it. I didn't look at the lock because I didn't take out the lock, until afterwards. I didn't realize that was I'm like, duh, that was, what was locking in the steering wheel. So It won't be too hard, and I don't think it needs to be, that much more complicated. But if you really want to do like a more solid job, you got to find a way to put a bearing on this, and then have the shaft, cut down. This is what my original plan actually. Um, Basically, you bring this down. This is like 905, 905 thousandths, and the bearing that came with it is 865. So it only is like 20,000 off on each side. And then I was gonna, have a groove cut in it. So if a groove gets cut in it, it won't be so bad, But then I got to do something on the outside. So I was thinking about the original housing, and if I put it inside here, it actually is not necessarily perfect either. It's a little bit loose in here. So either I got to pinch it or something, and then, it's just, then you got to try to get the snap ring on it, and it's got to be serviceable. So it's just a lot of thinking, I think, for something that it's probably not a big deal. I don't know what other people are doing. I mean, there technically is a bearing, but it's the same bearing that supports the top of the steering. It just said it's down further because it's a much shorter shaft. So this is a bearing that's up here. It still works. It's fine. It's in plastic, but it has the propensity to move. But that's because the design was supposed to be one shaft all the way to the back, and then a snap ring holding it in. So like I said, either you snap ring this, you machine this and then have it snap ringed, or you shim this so it can't move, can't rock back and forth. You got a fiber washer here that'll help with wear, and I think it'll be fine, because there's a certain degree you have, even though the shaft has a certain size here, it only has the lock is about half that or 2/3 of that. So it's more than enough, Like I said, there's a bearing in the housing, and the whole thing is supported by a big bearing. I just don't see this being an issue at all, and it makes it easy to put it together then instead of kind of working, blind. It really wouldn't be blind, but then I would have to machine down the other piece again. And at this point, I would, if I did a double bearing, I would definitely not put any kind of clamp, nothing. And I still might not. It's kind of like a moot point because it's being held up here. It's on its own bearing up here, and it's in the spline shaft. As long as you put everything in and you're not, forcing it one side or the other, it should be fine. But I gather I'll put something. I want to put like a piece of tin around here just to make it up a little bit tighter, but it really shouldn't be a big deal. I just wish I could find a better spacer because it's a weird size in the outside diameter. It can't go crazy, so this is a really heavy duty one, but it's what Ace Hardware had. I was thinking of a piece of bronze bushing as well, but it's really like 18 millimeter. Of course they do everything metric. This is an 18 millimeter, basically an oil drain plug. It's a fiber washer for an oil drain. It's still loose on here, so I think I tried to put 17 or 11/16 something or other, and it just, I couldn't find anything that fit that the outside diameter wasn't right. But 11/16, there's no bolts for that, so it was a weird size, so I had to go with 18 3/4. It should be fine. Just picture only 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, should be fine. I don't see why not. In fact, I could put the fiber washer in between here. I don't have to put it on the other end. The only thing I wanted to avoid, I want to make sure that the shaft spins are not this, because then it's going to make a rough noise. So hopefully, if I go, and I have the choice now. When I get it together, I can just put it in and see, what's going to make noise and what's not going to make noise. Then I'll grease it up, and it's just going to have to stay there. It's not going to. Not that it moved before, it doesn't move. It didn't move before because the bearing in the back was in a fixed position. So this was just always in the right place. And if it's ever like manufactured slightly off one way or the other, then uh, the lock mechanism, like I said, is only like a half to a third to a half to 2/3 going in the hole here. So the way they have it set up is that there's room for error, but the steering wheel pretty much stops here. It doesn't really apply anything. There's a spacer here for turning off the directionals, and it's greased up a bit. But that's about it. I was like, wow, this is really rinky dink, but it's a Fiesta, So it is what it is, So I think this will be fine, though. I ended up spending more time. I was going to not do any more work to it, but I got this far, and I just realized this will be fine. And I can't see there being an issue. Like I said, I'm sure there are guys that weld directly to that rod, but I got to take up the space. I can't have it go down, okay? Because if it, going down is a no-no, because then it's going to start crushing the plastic on the things here. So I got to space it. Like I said, I had like a tubing nut, and I was gonna throw it in there, and it was about a 1/2 inch deep, and that's it. I could put a little fiber wash or two, or I could put a little spring, like a transmission spring from something. As long as it crushes enough and repels back, it'll probably be fine and be exactly what I need to make something work here. As far as not going down, I thought I would try to make it accordion and all this and that. And I mean, technically, it could happen if I put a bearing in the back here, but not really. It's only going to move the amount of those bolts there. Although I mean, in a bad accident, I suppose it could slip all the way out, because that is technically, all the way open. So, they think about all these things, but there's only so much you can do if you want electric steering. That's about it. I think I covered it. I think it's going to be fine. I don't think I need to go crazy. I don't need everything on roller bearings on both ends. I just don't think it's necessary. The main thing is that the ignition lock locks when I'm done. If not, I may have to tweak it. I can shim this. I can do a couple other things to make sure that it's right. And if worse comes to worse, then I could do it, But it's fine. I don't think it's going to be an issue. Not at all. So that's it. All right.